Hello everyone, my name is Paton, and this is my senior thesis topic on how truth affects society. The American values in today's society have drastically changed from what they once were. Americans have treasured objective morality, which has been lacking in present-day America. Instead, subjectivity has become the priority for many citizens throughout the nation. If everything is subjective, how can there be any truth? And how can society determine what is just on subjective grounds? Living life subjectively seems easier because it is based on feelings and then following those feelings, but this is a harmful ideology that can and will drag down present-day America. Something a scale this large is of the utmost importance to ensure the prosperity and unity of America's future. With all the issues that are going on in the world today, it can be seen that the lack of desire for true truth is the cornerstone for many societal issues that we face today. Society's adoption of objective principles in the last few decades has and will continue to harm American society unless it is returned to objective truth. Before I continue the argument, I must define my terms, being truth, objectivity, and subjectivity. In order to have a stable foundation for human understanding, truth must remain objective no matter the circumstance or situation. Truth relies fully on the facts and cannot be interpreted with feeling. In this case, something simple as saying that the Holocaust happened is an example of truth. Objectivity does not use bias or opinion. Objectivity, for example, be a statement such as 2 + 2 is 4, or that America declared its independence from England in 1776. When something is subjective, there is no bias, which in turn leads to fairness. Subjectivity depends on bias, feelings, and opinions to make its decision. This can be defined as the exact opposite of objectivity. This shows that subjectivity depends on bias and opinion, which, again, is the exact opposite of what objectivity is. It must be apparent as to why truth is important, as it leads to a better and healthier society. According to St. Augustine, understanding truth leads for a person to become more wise. Living their lives in wisdom will give them the tools they need to create a happier life. This ensures that every person who follows truth and happiness will lead to the whole of society to become a more stable, peaceful, and prosperous place. This ensures that everyone who follows truth and happiness with all society become with truth comes faith, hope, and love. And these are principles that create a good and happy life. Every individual has to bring truths into their own lives, to bring all society into a more prosperous union. Each individual has to choose to bring objective truth into it in order for society as a whole to change for the better. St. Augustine states, "For truth and keeping faith belongs to men, and are not as members of a society." Each person has to bring truth and faith into their lives, and on their own for society as a whole to change. This takes work. A person must use reason and perseverance to determine what is true and right, and not just depend on whims and feelings. Then the person must act on what's true and right morally. Law of reason is a fundamental principle of which America was founded. The law of reason brings individual prosperity and general good to those who use principles in their lives, because everyone can use reason for themselves to understand what is true. When everyone in society is doing and arriving at the truth, all society benefits from this. For example, when truth is absolute, the obvious example of when truth is absolutely necessary is when, in an architectural scenario, an architect has to design a building correctly. That is an objective fact. A poorly designed building will collapse in an earthquake or a storm. It does not matter how good the architect thought the design was, The only thing that matters is whether it was stable or whether it was not. If the building collapses, the truth is that the building was designed poorly. The architect's feeling of the design are irrelevant. Just like a building is a solid structure, so too does society need one as well. And society is based on principles, values, and philosophies. When a society is founded upon objectively good principles like truth, self-sacrifice, and helping one's fellow man, a society is strong and can withstand challenges. The consensus is that without truth, a society focused only on feeling and emotion, which will lead to there being no true sense of what is right and what is wrong. This in turn will lead to a lack of order. This all leads to the short, simple answer that truth in society will help people know what is right and wrong, and hopefully do what is right, while still maintaining the ability to have subjective bias on issues that are not of the most vital importance. For example, going back to the architectural scenario, the architect has to make a building safe to live in, which is not a matter of opinion, but is necessary to preserve life. On the other hand, some subjectivity can be tolerated if the issues are up as not imperative, such as whether the building is beautiful or whether it is not. One might use the argument that free will gives people the ability to do things for their own unique perspective, exclusive to them alone. This is necessary for individuals to have free will because it allows for us to reason, which is how human innovation occurs. Though free will is a human reality, the objective truth is also unavoidable. This misconception is precisely why there are laws, as free will can lead to interpretation on certain actions and intentions that are different amongst everyone. This implies that if someone were to infringe on their rights on someone else, it would be justified under free will. Overarching truth is what principles are founded on, demonstrating that free will, though it is important, should not take priority over objective truth if it infringes on the rights of the innocent. Using what I've learned in government, John Locke bases that there are natural laws which rely on fundamental principles that everyone understands as true. These are natural laws. These natural laws are rules that are necessary to restrict abuse of free will. These natural laws exist on their own and are self-evident as described in the Declaration of Independence. An argument of truth failing to be objective is that no one person has a single form of truth, since no one has the knowledge to form what is true and what is not. As every person has some sort of biases in their life. It is true that every person, no matter who they are, has biases, which is part of the human nature. This does not negate the fact that there is a bigger picture, which can be named as objective truth. The individual perspective is just being pieces to the puzzle. There are principles that are inherently true and good, which have been proven again and again throughout all of human history. When studying history, it is proven that when a country, community, region, or kingdom fails, it is almost always caused when objectivity is neglected and self-interest takes over. Federal states that great republics have all hit their lowest points or have fallen when they do not adhere to the most fundamental principles of what is true. Even with everyone's bias, there's still natural laws which use fundamental principles to keep unbiased truth so that there can be a baseline for everyone to follow. Without these principles of objectivity, there would be nothing to base subjective bias off of in the first place. Truth does not just keep society going, but allows it to flourish. Summing up the repercussions of not following truth, with everything that's going on in the world today, it can be seen that if truth keeps going further and further on the back burner, society may keep moving towards its inevitable fall. No matter how much one may try to keep good feelings to push into society, principles based on truth is necessary to keep a civilization together. Objective morality encompasses virtues like what is good, what is true, and what is beautiful. These are objective principles. Without knowing the knowledge of truth, a society has no foundation and is unstable. Similarly, moral absolutes show what is good and beneficial for human flourishing. Murder is wrong, stealing is wrong, and lying is wrong. When the individual in society adopt truths like these and act on them as guiding principles, society is functional because it is cohesive, it's also safe and happy, and people treat each other well. When the individual in a society act on just on subjective truths, there is not any cohesion, but instead uncontrolled selfishness. This leads to every man for himself type of philosophy that can and will drag down every for himself type of philosophy that makes life miserable and functional society impossible to have. It is better for everyone when each person looks on and acts on what is true. Thank you.
Thank you, James. It was a really well-delivered argument, and a really profound, I think, argument as well. So, based on what are your thoughts on how do we change that subjectivity, right? If people are seeking their feelings over the truth, do you think there's a mechanism or a method of which we can being in our society, can guide people back towards the truth?
I definitely think, as I touched on my paper, is that history is definitely one of the biggest factors how we can learn from like other mistakes. That's the whole point of history, is learning from what other people have done wrong, taking what they've done right, and taking the good things, taking out the bad. And so I would definitely say that schools teaching, this is what a society did, this is how it failed, and this is specifically America's taking these specific virtues and philosophies into our country, and why we have been so stable for so long. And if we go back to other philosophies that we've been proven not to have worked in the past, it will eventually bring them down or collapse America's as a whole.
Great. Brief follow-up on this. Do you think that the truth attracts the truth? You know what I mean? Like, do people gravitate towards the truth more than they do subjectivity if it's put in front of their face, right?
I think it depends on the person specifically, because there's people who are more of a moral character who want to know what is true. There's also people who don't. They like want to do what they want to do without anyone telling them that that's right and that's wrong. They just want to do whatever feels best to them. So I would say definitely based on the person.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling on how I'm gonna word it. So we live in a society that often says do what makes you happy, right? And that's a mentality of following your emotions, right? So what would you tell someone that has that mentality? You know, if there's a truth, and that we have a society where everything's relative. What's true for me may not be true for you, but you're saying there should be more truth. We should have a concept of love and right? And if I have a do what makes you happy mentality, I want to follow my emotions, and sometimes you're saying to follow what's true, you have to set aside your own desires and emotions and just do what's right. How does that lead to true happiness, like Justin said, like following truth leads to happiness? If I'm not following my feelings, how is gravitating towards truth going to end up making me happy?
Because I would say, based on what Augustine uses, is that it may feel better, but you're not truly happy. You know, like it may feel like a base, like very simple layer of happiness, but true happiness, what he believes, and also I believe, comes deep from within. You have to go on what is true, basically, because there is definitely a deeper happiness you get from when you know, like when you do something wrong, it may feel good to do these bad things. I feel good at the moment, but then you also have like a guilty conscience that really eats at you, which is not true happiness, because you're not happy when you're guilty all the time and you have all these other emotions that just negate all that happiness that you should have. I would definitely say for that there has to be a deeper sense of happiness and for actually for someone to be truly happy.
I guess one of my questions kind of relates to that. So with deeper happiness, like what are some things we can look for to know that we have it? Like what we can sort of think through like the things that make us happy that are like this sort of my truth kind of stuff. Oh, that felt good, or oh, that made me like have this good emotion or whatever. If we're talking about true happiness, what are some things that we can look for in our lives to show that we have that true happiness?
Because there are, like as I said, there is, it's just about negating subjectivity as a whole. You do have that subjectivity because it's human nature. So you can do things like, I personally play video games, maybe people don't want to play video games because that's not what makes them happy. So that stuff is the stuff that's okay, because you're going to be able to. But the stuff, whereas I believe what you're saying is the absolute importance to be happy.
Yeah, like when would I know that I have more of the like true happiness? Like what in my life would show me that I have that true happiness?
I personally feel eventually you'd feel it in yourself, like you'd feel it deep down of, oh, this is actually not benefiting me, or it's like negatively impacting me. And we can also see, as I talk about history, you can use other people's accounts to kind of see, oh, this may negatively impact me if I keep going on this route in the future, even though it feels good at the moment. Or it can also just be that, as I said, you feel it later on. I feel like if it is an absolute happiness, like truly absolutely makes you happy, it would stay for the whole duration and wouldn't be fluctuating depending on small, minute differences.
Right, okay, so it would be longer lasting than sort of this not true happiness, and also something that you said, and I think you're right about, is there's something to like an awareness, or like we're talking about wisdom, is this connection between wisdom and happiness, that with that wisdom of sort of knowing more about life and existence and like what we're doing here, I think brings some sort of joy or happiness to us. So that makes sense. My only other question has to do with sort of, like I agree with you, truth is objective. The difficulty comes in when like we try and figure out what actually is objectively true. You know, because truth could be true, but we don't actually know what all of that entails, right? We don't know, whether, I don't know, what we can't for sure, like, with scientific evidence know there's a God, but we could like believe that is like an objectively true statement. So what do we do when we don't know specifically in a certain circumstance? If we don't know specifically what is true in a certain circumstance, what do we do there?
I would say that it sounds like redundant, but definitely history plays a role. Because like if you see how this has affected other people, it really helps you know how it's probably going to affect you. It might be different, because people are different, that's human nature. But you can sort of get a baseline for what is true and what is good and what makes you more happy, just based on other people's accounts of history. So we've been around for millions and millions of years. So a lot of accounts to tell you but a lot of scenarios of how this could work. So that's what I would say.
So I know that we talk about reform a lot in our society and kind of redirecting the youth to see objective truth so that subjectivity isn't necessarily a problem that staggers our society and moral progress. And so to what extent do you think our society could reform our system, or do you think we need an entire reset?
I wouldn't say we need an entire reset. I don't think we're so far gone that we can't fix ourselves. I just think we just need to go just back to what we've already been established. Not completely everything, because as I said, we're still human, so there was some discrepancies when we first were founded. But overall, there's a lot of good stuff there. Like a majority of it is beneficial for people in our society. I would say there is a possibility we can go back by teaching better in the school system, like history. I keep saying that, but it's very important to know what other people have done to impact how can go back on the right track.
kind of building off of Mr. Lizzie's question and taking pieces of Jay's, you kind of talked about there's like some people who are more moral and want to see how is the objective truth, and then there's other people who would be more sluggish towards that. So my question is to you, going off of what Paton and King Jr. said, justice anywhere is equivalent to justice everywhere. And what is justice if not the thing that's based off the truth, right? And so how do we convince those people and influence those people who are more sluggish to find the truth to get to that objective truth?
I agree, because obviously you can't, not everyone's gonna want to see the truth, and I know I keep saying this, but it's definitely, it's the stuff you learn, the stuff that counts from other people, like really drive home what you can see as truth. But even with all that stuff, not everyone's gonna want to seek the truth, but it's better to try to push forth these values and show them how it's beneficial than just not do it at all. So I would definitely say that with history and all that stuff, definitely push forth, but not everyone's gonna gravitate to it.
Would you say in our current society, would you say that people are unmotivated to find the truth, or would you also say that the truth is kept from us by people who educate us in a sense?
I think it's a mixture of both, because definitely teachers now, not all of them really try. A lot of them put a slideshow on and just play whatever you want to play, like watch a movie. So it is a fault of a lot of our education system of not pushing forth the truth. And what was your first part of the question?
There's also people being unmotivated to find the truth in the first place.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's people unmotivated. As I said with Ruben, not everyone's gonna want to do it, but it definitely also goes to just societal of how they're brought up. There's a lot of factors that go into how much they want to be motivated to do this, because not everyone wants to do what is right, because it makes it like, as I said, with happiness, it makes them less happy, even though I do think it's like a very base level when they use happiness, they are motivated to do, because they don't want to stop doing what they want to do.